Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here, we don't sugarcoat, and not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and sometimes that includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. If you are new here, please know at this time I create weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood. And Part 3 focuses on what needs to be done. Essentially, what action do we need to take to embody whatever we happen to be discussing for that week? This is going to be part 3 for this week's topic, which means you'll find all available links to parts 1 and 2 in the series in the description box below. So no matter where you come in, you'll find everything and it'll be readily available. So this week's topic is fear, and I am calling this message, How Do We Stop Organizing Life Around Fear? And if you did see part 2, I'm recording this on the same day. So if you didn't watch part 2, I unintentionally slept like somewhere between 11 and 13 hours already today. Did not plan that, so I figured since I'm up and sleep is definitely evading me at this time, I figured I should make the most of the time and figured being creative is a pretty good use of time. So yeah, this is the second video I'm recording today, so let's get it going. Hopefully I'll be able to get to sleep at somewhat of a decent hour. So again, how do we stop organizing life around fear? Here we go. Fear is not the enemy. It is a natural part of being alive. It exists to protect, warn, and help us recognize danger. The problem begins when fear moves beyond its proper role as an advisor and becomes the authority that organizes our entire life. A healthy relationship with fear does not require eliminating it, defeating it, or becoming fearless. The deeper work is learning how to live so that fear is one voice among many, rather than the voice that determines what is possible. Fear loses power not because it is attacked, but because healthier ways of living become stronger. The movement is not from fear to fearlessness. It is from protection to participation, contraction to expansion, rigidity to flexibility, certainty to discernment, endless preparation to meaningful action, control to adaptation, survival-based identity to meaning-based identity. A mature life is not one without fear. It is one where fear is respected, listened to, and placed back into its proper position. Growth begins by releasing what fear has added. Many people imagine growth as adding something, more confidence, courage, discipline, knowledge, strength. But often the first movement of healing is not addition, it is subtraction. Fear accumulates unnecessary burdens over time. It attaches itself to responsibilities, identities, expectations, and beliefs until a person begins carrying things they were never meant to carry. Fear often says, I have to hold everything together. I cannot disappoint anyone. I must fix this. I must protect everyone. I must always be responsible. I cannot let anyone down. Some responsibilities are meaningful. Some are fear disguised as responsibility. The challenge is not becoming less caring. It is separating genuine love from fear-based obligation. Fear can attach itself to good qualities and distort them. Compassion becomes rescuing. Responsibility becomes self-sacrifice without limits. Care becomes control. Wisdom becomes endless caution. Service becomes self-erasure. Loyalty becomes the inability to leave harmful situations. Preparation becomes avoidance. The same behavior can come from love or fear. The outward action may look identical, but the inner motivation is different. Love creates connection. Fear creates burden. What needs to be done? Practice intentional release. Identify responsibilities you carry that are not truly yours. Question beliefs that begin with, I have to, I must, or I should. Ask whether your actions come from love or from fear of what might happen. Create space by letting go of unnecessary obligations, identities, and expectations. Remember that caring for others does not require abandoning yourself. Babies, they're saying you can care about people, but it doesn't mean you have to carry them. And they're saying you're gonna know, I'm hearing you're gonna feel it in your chest if you know you've been carrying people instead of caring for them. They're saying they're not the same. That's why we need to distinguish the two. You can care without making yourself completely responsible for all they do, how they feel, how things work out for them. Again, love creates connection. Fear creates burdens. Someone needs to sit with that and think that through. Fear becomes harmful when it becomes absolute. Fear naturally seeks certainty. It does not like uncertainty because uncertainty cannot be controlled. So fear begins creating rigid conclusions. This will fail. They will reject me. I already know how this ends. This is the only option. There is no other way. Fear turns possibilities into predictions and predictions into perceived facts. This is where fear becomes controlling. It stops helping you evaluate reality and starts dictating reality. Fear becomes a kind of internal ruler. It creates rigid beliefs, fixed identities, unquestioned assumptions, emotional reactions that feel unavoidable, rules about what is safe and unsafe. The problem is not caution. The problem is when caution becomes incapable of change. Fear often uses words like always, never, everyone, no one, impossible, guaranteed. These words often signal that fear has stopped observing reality and started controlling it. And they want you to acknowledge when these words are coming to mind or you're actually speaking them. That is your indicator that something is there that probably needs to be examined further. Again, unquestioned assumptions. Say the words again. Fear often uses words like always, never, everyone, no one, impossible, and guaranteed. Wisdom works differently. Wisdom does not demand certainty. It asks better questions. What evidence actually exists? What assumptions am I making? Am I responding to what is happening now or something that happened before? What possibilities have I stopped considering? Discernment begins when certainty is examined instead of automatically obeyed. What needs to be done? Challenge fearful certainty. Notice when your thoughts become absolute. Replace predictions with questions. Separate current reality from old experiences. Look for evidence rather than assuming conclusions. Again, they're taking me back to instead of assuming, ask questions. Get clarity. Practice staying open to information that changes your perspective. Change your mind. Change it again. Change it again. Change it as often as you feel called to. This is not the time for rigidity in anything. Stay flexible. Freedom returns through participation and movement. Fear contracts life. It encourages waiting, waiting until you know enough. Feel ready. There is no risk. Everything is predictable. But life cannot be fully understood through observation alone. Babies, I'm also hearing, why do you want to be on the sidelines of your own life? You were born to be the main character of your life. Why are you sidelining yourself by only observing it? And again, they're saying use your discernment with that, right? Because you can swing between extremes of being the main character of your experience. And if you're here, you already know we're about balancing out the extremes here. So, but again, why do you want to be a supporting character of your own story? I'm hearing get in there. All right. Again, life cannot be fully understood through observation alone. It must be experienced. Get in there. Healing requires movement, not necessarily dramatic change. Movement can be small, trying something unfamiliar, meeting someone new, having an honest conversation, learning a skill, exploring a different perspective, making a decision without perfect certainty, creating something, allowing yourself to be surprised. Fear asks, what will happen? Wisdom asks, what will I do when something happens? Again, reacting versus responding. Some of you really need to trust that you are going to be able to respond appropriately to what comes up in your experience. How do you build that confidence? You participate. You participate, you see what life brings your way, and you see how you either react or respond. You learn, you incorporate whatever you need to, add to your wisdom, build your discernment, and keep participating. No one's asking you for perfection, okay? Fear seeks guarantees. Wisdom develops capacity. Again, how do you develop capacity? You participate. The difference is enormous. One waits for certainty before living. The other learns through living. Confidence is not, I'm gonna throw this fucking notebook. Confidence is not created by convincing yourself you are capable. Confidence is created through evidence. I tried. I adapted. I survived. I learned. I recovered. Every experience becomes information. Every action teaches the nervous system something new. Avoidance teaches the world is dangerous. Participation teaches I can meet uncertainty. What needs to be done? Choose participation over preparation. Take small actions before you feel completely ready. Replace endless planning with experimentation. Let experience teach you what thinking alone cannot. Seek opportunities for connection, learning, creativity, and exploration. And babies, they're saying, who cares if you're any good at it, especially if you're trying something new? All right, I made some shitty pottery earlier this year, and it was just something new. It had a very good purpose in my journey at that time. All right, did I want to keep it? No. But again, there was purpose in the activity, and sometimes you can get a really funny story out of the fact that it's like, yeah, I tried to make this and it got all fucked up, but I still made it, you know? Seriously, go make some shitty pottery. Try something. Be bad at it. Be okay with being bad at it. All right? Build trust in yourself through repeated evidence. Babies, I feel like someone needs to hear this. If you really feel like you're frozen in place, they're saying you have more potential for movement if you just get out there and try something small. Again, this is not about big dramatic shit. This is really about try something small. Try small different things. that has a better chance of getting you out of freeze than trying to overthink, trying to overplan. Again, they're showing me the Nike sign, just do it. And I gotta be honest, I went through a period of freeze that I have been moving through, and movement, particularly imperfect movement, is really the way to do it. It's the only thing I've really found that works. Because again, your nervous system is so hyper focused on this freeze and this fear of making a mistake that I shit you not, the only way to actually get it out of that mindset is to do something and just see what happens and just trust that if you make a mistake that you can correct it. If you need to do any repair, do the repair, right? Own be accountable for your own actions. I also heard and your words. Yes. But again, you just have to teach your nervous system that you can move and that the world doesn't crumble. And I know that sounds crazy, but when your nervous system is really stuck in fight or flight, it can really feel small decisions can feel like they hold a ton of weight, and you just have to keep participating. Again, not in these big kind of bang type of approaches. It's these small things. You just need to teach your nervous system that you can act and the worst shit doesn't come in, right? Again, you can adapt, you can learn, you can recover. That's going to be significant for someone. I don't feel like that's for everyone, but someone needs to know that. Start small. Just do something. All right? And I'm hearing for some of you, your guides are going to nudge you if you decide you want to do that. So if you all of a sudden get a feeling to go somewhere and do something small and maybe it's impulsive, they really want you to trust that is coming through for a reason, that has purpose. And they really want you to focus on, I'm really hearing be brave, have the courage to just go and not know how it's going to turn out. Because again, some of you need to leave. Some of you have been through some very hard experiences, and my heart really goes out to you, babies, because I've been in this situation. I know what this feels like. And they just really want you to trust that you can have room to be surprised in the most beautiful of ways. Or at a minimum, that you can leave room to be surprised and things just work out, right? Nothing terrible happens. Some of you need to start working that process to get yourself out of that freeze. And again, if I had a better suggestion for how to get out of that, I would tell you. But in my experience, based on what I know, that is what I found to be the most effective. So you don't have to rush yourself with that, but that's significant for someone. Healing requires emotional honesty instead of emotional accumulation. Fear often teaches people to suppress emotions. Do not show weakness. Do not express anger. Do not acknowledge sadness. Do not admit disappointment. Do not create conflict. But emotions that are ignored do not disappear. They accumulate. Suppressed emotions eventually become overwhelming. The healthier alternative is continual emotional movement. This means speaking honestly, naming feelings, allowing grief, acknowledging frustration, expressing disappointment, celebrating joy, sharing needs before resentment develops. Emotional health does not mean controlling every feeling. It means allowing emotions to move without allowing them to control your entire life. Small expressions prevent emotional pressure from becoming emotional explosions. Fear creates emotional rigidity. Honesty creates emotional flow. What needs to be done? Practice regular emotional expression. Name what you feel before it becomes overwhelming. Communicate smaller truths instead of waiting for major breakdowns. All right, if you saw part 1, you already know I had to re-record this entire series because I didn't realize that I was holding so much emotional accumulation. I had a really spectacular crash out that, I shit you not, tackled emotions not just tied to this lifetime, but like past ones too. Like, when I tell you, like, we hit the eject button, holy shit, did we do it? So my advice to you is, babies, be better than me. All right. Sometimes we just don't know when we're holding too much, and I definitely didn't. But I will tell you though, if you are having the major breakdown, you're having a spectacular crash out, first off, there's no shame and there's no blame. It happens to the best of us. I don't know a single person who does this type of work who doesn't have at least one spectacular crash out under their belt in the process, because sometimes you gotta really purge that shit out. But if you are having the major breakdown, my advice is let it go, right? Once it starts, let it rip and let it ride until it's done, all right? Mine started around 10 p.m. the night before. I think it basically went until like 4 or 5 in the morning. I got like 3 hours of sleep, and then I'm not joking, when I woke up in the morning, I think I cried for a few more hours. And I'm not even sure what it was about. I just knew I had to cry. So, and after that, it's been pretty stable. So again, it's no shame. If it needs to come out, let it come out. Because otherwise, you're just still bottling it back inside. All right? I feel like someone needs to hear that. Like, it's okay if you have the crash out. I assure you, like, if you have a lot that you need to purge in a short period of time, that will more than get the job done. So if it's starting, just let it run its course. You will feel better. You will recover. It clears out a lot of room for things that are actually in alignment with you, all right? Yeah, just the goal is to, again, practice regular expression. Don't be counting on the crash outs to get you to the next phase. I just they're not that enjoyable. They're necessary, but they're not that enjoyable. So try to build the skills to avoid it. All right. All we can do is just be better moving forward. So again, communicate smaller truths instead of waiting for major breakdowns. Allow yourself to experience emotions without immediately judging them. Create relationships where honesty is possible. Treat emotions as information rather than threats. Things are coming up for a reason. Play. Humor and creativity restore flexibility. Fear is serious, not because life is always serious, but because fear treats everything as if it must be protected. Everything becomes urgent, dangerous, a potential failure. Play interrupts this pattern. Play is not your responsibility. Everyone needs play. It is flexibility, humor, creativity, curiosity, experimentation, wonder. These qualities allow a person to engage with life without needing to control every outcome. Fear cannot easily tolerate play because play requires openness. Play says, I do not know what will happen, but I can explore. Fear says, I must know before I begin. A healthy life includes moments where nothing needs to be optimized, defended, or perfected. What needs to be done? Reintroduce play. Make time for activities done simply because they bring enjoyment. Experiment without needing immediate success. Use humor to soften rigid thinking. Allow curiosity to replace constant evaluation. Remember that joy is not a distraction from growth. It is a part of growth. And babies, it is so very necessary. All right, even if it's not funny in the moment, I assure you, I was not laughing about my crash out when it was happening. It was very fucking serious. But I've just learned as I keep going through this that you just have to get to a point where you can laugh at things. Why? Because it happened. I can't go back and undo it. And frankly, I can't be upset that crash out happened because I know what it made energetic space for. And those are good things. Those are things in alignment with my greatest and highest good. So I had a very serious, ugly cry. Absolutely bottomed out, did what I needed to do, and I am making my way back up from that. It is what it is. All right. Sometimes and sometimes when you're going through hard things, you just have to laugh. Because otherwise, I don't know. I have a joke with my friends and she gets it too. I'm like, sometimes you just have to laugh when like crazy shit starts happening in your experience because otherwise you just cry at everything. You just cry at everything. Sometimes you just have to laugh and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, what shit is this? Like, you got me so fucked up right now. Like, what? Like, seriously. Sometimes I can't explain it. It's like you just have to laugh because it's just like either you'll cry or you'll want to throw them hands. And it's like, you know what? Let's just laugh about it. Give ourselves a minute to compose ourselves. But some of you just need to have some fun. Have a pillow fight. Go like some of you just need to honestly think about some of the things you really enjoyed as a kid and just do that. Who gives a shit that you're an adult? Like, you got adult money. This is the best time to circle back on the shit you love to do as a kid. You have no parent who's going to tell you no, it doesn't fit in the budget, right? Like, you got that. Seriously, think of something. There is something. Go have some fun. Just do it because you can, right? Who cares about the outcome? Who cares about how you look while you do it? Go be goofy. Go be silly. Go do something you have never done before, just to try it. No one says you have to do it again after that. But again, babies, if you stay in a very serious space all the time, that is what you get used to. That can easily become your baseline. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I have found one of the best ways for me to use to balance that out is to bounce back and forth between the seriousness and the play and the humor, being able to laugh at things. You know, my saved playlist on Instagram is like genuinely 95% shit that just makes me giggle at any given moment. And that's why I save it, because sometimes I just really need to laugh. And when I do, I just go to my little collection and it works every time. And honestly, there's some really funny shit on the internet. I'm not going to hold you. So, again, remember that joy is not a distraction from growth. It is a part of growth. And it's a very critical part. Adaptability is a deeper form of resilience. Many people define resilience as enduring more. A deeper form of resilience is adapting sooner. Fear often asks, how do I make life stop changing? Wisdom asks, how do I become more capable of changing with life? Everything changes. Relationships, responsibilities, bodies, priorities, beliefs, and identities. It all changes. Trying to preserve everything forever creates suffering. And babies, they want me to be very clear. They're saying that is not an opinion up for debate. They're saying that is a fact. You can lie to yourself, but it is a fact. They want me to say it again. Trying to preserve everything forever creates suffering. Healthy living requires adjustment. Balance is not something permanently achieved. Balance is something continually restored. Life naturally moves out of balance. Wisdom notices and responds. Fear tries to prevent all movement. Wisdom learns how to move with reality. What needs to be done? Practice adaptation. Notice when you are trying to control what cannot be controlled. Adjust earlier instead of waiting until circumstances force change. Allow identities and beliefs to evolve. Treat change as information rather than automatically as danger. Measure progress by your ability to return to balance. Endings are necessary for growth. Fear often interprets endings as failures. A relationship ending, a belief changing, an identity being released, a life chapter closing. Fear says something was lost. Wisdom asks, what is making room for what comes next? Every meaningful life requires endings. Old patterns, old beliefs, old strategies, old versions of yourself must end. Growth cannot happen if everything must remain preserved forever. Transformation requires allowing what no longer serves life to reach its natural conclusion. Ending is not always destruction. Sometimes it is completion. And again, babies, they're just saying these are not failures. Some things we just have to realize has served its purpose, and it just can't go any further with you. And it really gives you an opportunity to let things go with grace. I don't know why, but I'm also hearing with dignity. They're not elaborating on that. So with grace and dignity. What needs to be done? Allow necessary endings. And I'm not going to lie, babies. What day is it? I'm recording this on August 2nd. And I'm not going to lie, babies. I know necessary endings are happening for me at this time, particularly around identity and beliefs. Probably more than I actually consciously recognize at this time. But again, I know that's not just for me. I know this is impacting others on a more collective level. And again, they're just saying, allow what is complete to be complete and to be released to make room for what is genuinely in alignment with you moving forward and serves your greatest and highest good. Identify what you continue holding on to because of fear. Release identities that no longer reflect who you are becoming. Accept that change often requires letting something go. View endings as transitions rather than only losses. Make room for new possibilities. I'm hearing make room for surprises. Some of you need to be open to the fact that what you may be releasing at this time is making room for something better. They want me to just leave it at that. Like, what if it's better? What if it's actually better? Some of you need to really ask yourself, what if it all works out? What if it all works out better than you could have ever planned? I've seen it on TikTok. I'm just hearing everything is working out for me. Everything is working out for me. Everything is working out for me. Some of you that needs to be your affirmation. It really does. And I'm hearing say it till you believe it. All right. Identity should remain open and unfinished. Fear seeks final answers. It wants to know, this is who I am. This is what I can do. This is what people are like. This is how life works. But healthy life remains unfinished. A person is not a completed product. A person is someone continually becoming. Growth does not mean finally becoming the person you were always supposed to be. Growth means remaining capable of becoming someone new. Teachability is one of the highest expressions of wisdom. Fear says, I already know. Wisdom says, I am willing to learn. Curiosity protects against becoming trapped inside old conclusions. Say it again. Curiosity protects against becoming trapped inside old conclusions. What needs to be done? Remain teachable. Allow yourself to change your mind with new information. Stay curious about people and experiences. Babies, I've said this in previous series that I have covered. Some of you are going to be introduced to new people, and it may not be people you have considered interacting with. For some of you, this may be people that you might have considered dating, being friends with, anything of that sort. Same thing with experiences. This is the time to be open-minded. Open-minded. See where things go. Allow things to grow organically. Some of you need to meet new people. You need to have new experiences because you need new ways of living and becoming to be introduced into your experience. And that is exactly what your guides and your ancestors are trying to line up for you. But they don't want you out here self-sabotaging your own blessings. And they said they're going to stand on big business with that, especially when it comes to the people they are trying to bring in. Some of you need to be open to dating people who are not your type. All right? Some of you may have already heard me say this. They want me to say it again. Some of you think you have a type. Your type is your pattern. And I'm not talking about physical appearance. You need to remain teachable. You need to be open-minded. Some of you need to understand that your guides and your ancestors will sometimes send you helpers who are random fucking strangers. And you may just have one conversation with them and they will say something that is exactly what you needed, points you in the right direction, gives you a connection that you need to get to the next step. I'm just hearing, do not use your discernment, right? Use your discernment. But I'm just hearing, don't be so quick in this season to dismiss people because they don't fit the mold of what you expect. And I'm hearing some of you just don't really go out and talk to many people. And I'm hearing clear as day, if you know you are one of those people and someone shows up and just starts talking to you, again, this would be a good season to not brush that person off so quickly. Again, be teachable. They want me to say it again. Stay curious about people and experiences. If you get invited to something and you would normally say no, and I'm hearing even if there's a hint of you that feels like maybe you should go, maybe you should really consider going. This is not the season to let old habits, old automatic behaviors derail some beautiful shit that's trying to come into your experience. I'm going to leave that there. Question fixed beliefs about yourself. Leave room for surprise. Bitch, I'm good. See identity as a process, not a final definition. Meaning comes through contribution and relationship. Fear narrows attention inward. It asks, how do I stay safe? How do I avoid pain? How do I prevent loss? Meaning expands attention outward. It asks, what can I contribute? How can I participate? How can I connect? Purpose is not discovered only through thinking. Meaning develops through relationship with reality. Relationships, community, learning, creating, helping, teaching, serving, building, sharing. Isolation strengthens fear because nothing challenges its assumptions. Connection expands perception. A healthy life is not about mastering everything alone. It is about developing relationship with uncertainty, emotions, change, yourself, other people, the world around you, meaning itself. Management attempts to control life. Relationship allows you to participate in life. Babies, if you have a tendency to isolate, I'm just hearing absolutely no one is you're not gonna meet anyone or have any experiences if you just stay in your house all the time. And this doesn't mean you got to be outside all the time. Again, discernment, because there is a time to participate and there is a time to rest and recharge. I'm not going to deny that, but this is the season, whenever you're watching this, to get out there, because some of you have some fated meetings, some fated experiences that you are supposed to have that are going to help you on your journey. They don't want me to elaborate any more than that. Okay. What needs to be done? Move toward connection. Invest in meaningful relationships. Contribute beyond yourself. Create and share rather than only protect. Seek experiences that connect you with others and the world. Measure life by participation, not only safety. Transformation happens through repeated practice. Fear is not transformed through argument. Knowing that fear is limiting does not automatically free someone from fear. Fear is learned through repeated experiences. Every healthy action creates new evidence. Every boundary, honest conversation, creative act, vulnerable moment, decision made despite uncertainty, moment of adaptation, every acceptance. Over time, the nervous system learns, I can handle this. I can change. I can recover. I can participate. Transformation is not usually one dramatic breakthrough. It is accumulation. Small choices become character. Daily actions become identity. Repeated experiences reshape expectations. Healing is rhythmic, expansion, contraction, rest, movement, reflection, action. learning, adjustment, returning. Progress is not measured by never becoming afraid. Progress is measured by returning to balance more quickly and more gently. What needs to be done? Build wisdom through repetition. Focus on small daily choices rather than dramatic transformations. Repeat behaviors that build trust in yourself. Notice evidence of growth. Practice returning rather than demanding perfection. Let experience reshape your relationship with fear. I don't know why, but I'm hearing the only way out is through. And the only way out is by doing. They said leave that there. You'll know if that's for you. The deepest shift from managing life to participating in life. The final transformation is not about controlling fear better. It is about changing your relationship with existence itself. Fear tries to manage emotions, people, outcomes, uncertainty, identity, pain, the future. Wisdom chooses relationship with reality, uncertainty, change, emotion, yourself, others, and meaning. Fear wants life to become predictable. Wisdom develops the ability to meet whatever arrives. The deepest question is not how do I become someone who is never afraid? It is what kind of person am I becoming through the way I relate to fear? The answer is found in ordinary choices. Release what is not yours to carry. Question certainty. Stay curious. Act before complete confidence arrives. Express emotions honestly. Allow endings. Adapt continually. Build trust through experience. Remain teachable. Choose participation over protection. Fear remains a part of life. It always will, but it no longer needs to define what life is. A mature relationship with fear allows it to become what it was always meant to be: a guide, a signal, an advisor, not a ruler. End it there. All right, babies, that is all I have for part 3 for this fear series, and that is going to actually wrap it up. So I will be back on Sunday with the next series. And until then, take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.